Hello everyone and welcome to Blog Runner Everything and welcome back to the channel and welcome to what is a heavily delayed match reaction, I guess, but really I guess it was also a bit on purpose because I decided to wait, after Barcelona's match against Newcastle United. Obviously had a lot on my mind, a lot of things that I wanted to say, but I decided, you know what, hey, let's just wait. Because I knew that, especially with some of the immediate reaction that we were getting after Barcelona's game, I kind of had this sneaking feeling like, hey, you know what? It's Arsenal fans talking, it's Chelsea fans talking, City fans, the typical Premier League, characters, the typical Premier League customers, if you could put it that way, the usual suspects. They're the ones who are talking. So, I just got this feeling like, hey, you know what? Let's just wait. Let's wait, let's see what happens. And, well, we also what happened on Wednesday night. And it's really not a coincidence, really, that a lot of the people who were talking then, who were saying the most, really, about, players like Pedri, players like Lamine, and also about Barcelona. I mean, remember, we got a lot of, is this the Barcelona team that's, dominating La Liga, that's beating everyone in the league? Is this the Barcelona team that's, doing this, doing that? They're failing to beat 12th place Newcastle United. And, well, it pays sometimes to kind of just wait before you start running your mouth, because with what happened on Wednesday night, Man City, Chelsea, Arsenal, what they got away with, Arsenal really should have been, I don't know how they managed to avoid conceding 3 goals in that match against Leverkusen. I guess, they probably said enough prayers or something like that. But anywho, with all of that in mind, and also just some craziness I've been seeing from Kool's, okay? Because let's get this right. First of all, let's get Kool's out of the way, because to begin with, I'm not really surprised with some of the takes I'm seeing, especially since they're from Twitter. But I am in particular disappointed to see some pretty big YouTube channels, the likes of which even inspired my existence on this platform, talking some of the things that they're talking. What's the most common thing we've seen? I don't know, scapegoating Ronald Araujo. Guys, honestly speaking, I get it. Araujo has let us down in some big moments in the Champions League, but if you're going to just try now and exaggerate everything that happens and make it look like, this is Ronald Araujo once again, then I think there's something wrong with you in here. Because if you watched the entirety of that match and your biggest complaint is that Ronald Araujo tried to waste time and Newcastle basically took advantage of the fact that he wasn't back in his position, you realize that's what they did, right? They basically took a quick free kick, more or less, but the blame should be on Araujo, like, oh, what's he doing? Oh, this is the Champions League. Oh, why shouldn't you be running back? Let me get this straight. If Araujo was actually hurt and he tried to run back and Newcastle United still scored and he ended up getting, further injured and going off, guess who you'd be blaming still? Guess who people would be saying, why didn't he just stay down and wait to be treated? Guess who would be saying the same thing? So look, Araujo probably should have stayed down and waited to be treated. But I think one thing which he realizes that if he did that, he would leave his team playing a man light for quite a while. And, you don't want to do that in a Champions League knockout tie. So, sure, he got up, took a bit of time. But honestly, guys, I get it, all right? I don't think that, we should be trusting him in big matches in the Champions League. Especially, granted, like, he has literally just had a mental health episode, He's not completely right yet. I know he might want to tell us that he is. It might start to look like he is, but I'm willing to bet he's not completely right yet. So we shouldn't be putting him in those kinds of situations. All right. I'm saying that. Having said that, this was not an example of him letting us down in a big moment. It was not. Get it out of your head. Sometimes maybe even just give credit to the goal that was scored. They were on top of us for a long time. They deserved to have scored a goal much earlier than they did, but they didn't. And eventually they did. So when it finally does happen, you can't then blame it on one of the guys who was actually defending well for Barcelona. Do you get that? Can you get that in your head, Kool-Aid's? The other thing as well, which I can't seem to understand, is Kool-Aid's complaining about the way that Barcelona played. So just let me get this straight, okay? After Barcelona got roasted by Atleti in the first leg of the semi-finals of the Copa del Rey, we lost 4-0 at the Metropolitano. We were 4-0 down at halftime, meaning that we were doing even worse than Man City was doing last night versus Real Madrid come halftime. Yeah, think about that. So after that game, right, what's the major thing that a lot of coolers were saying? Oh, why does Flick always have to set up so attacking? Why does Flick always have to be, gung-ho in these matches? Why can't you just, hold back just a little bit? Why can't you this? Why can't you that? And then, of course, we heard out there was a meeting with the players, and some of the players said, hey, boss, sometimes maybe when we don't have everybody fit, maybe let's not go all out attacking the opposition, especially in a big match, especially in a tricky venue. And I mean, St. James's Park is arguably a more intimidating atmosphere than the Metropolitano, and that's with all due respect to the Metropolitano, right? But get this, generally speaking, a lot of people, YouTube, Twitter, whatever it was, a lot of you guys were saying Barcelona should try and just play it a bit safer. And look, I'm not saying they did a good job of playing it safer, but I think they actually did play it safer. I think Hansi Flick did actually ask less of his team. I think that Barcelona weren't pushing up as far as we saw them doing at the Metropolitano, all the way up to the halfway line. They were not doing that. So I don't know what it is. You people ask for a thing, you get the thing, and then you cry about it. You ask for a thing, you get the thing, you complain about it. Why is that happening? Learn to just accept sometimes what you get. We managed to get a draw at St. James's Park. Do you know how many of these so-called top 6 Premier League teams have failed to even do that over the past 3 or 4 seasons? They've gone there, they've been beaten. Okay, Barcelona now has won there and have drawn there. They are unbeaten at St. James's Park in the past 2 visits. Show me one of the top 6 teams that can, say all of that. You know what I'm saying? That's the kind of thing that's going on here. So maybe just, calm down a little bit, Kool-Aid's. Now that we're done with the Kool-Aid's, let's talk to the clowns from the Premier League. Because, I mean, on Wednesday in the morning after Tuesday's matches, I was hearing a lot of talk about, such and such couldn't cut it in the Premier League. No Premier League midfielders or defenders would allow you that much time to do all of that. This, that. Did you see what Kvaratskhelia did to Chelsea? If he did that in League A, you people would be saying, he would never be able to do that in the Premier League. No one would give him that much time. Did you see what Valverde did to Man City? On all 3 of his goals? A hat-trick. Do you know how many La Liga teams Valverde has scored a hat-trick against? I'll allow you to guess. It's a number smaller than 1. That's right, 0. 0 La Liga teams. Name all of the ones you want to. Eibar, Elche, Las Palmas. Name whoever you think is the crappiest La Liga team. They have never conceded a hat-trick to, what's his name? Ernesto? No, it's not Ernesto. Federico Valverde. It's never happened. But guess who it happened against? One of the Premier League's best teams over the past 10 years. Let's not even talk about Liverpool and what we saw happening to them against Galatasaray. But going by Premier League fan logic, since Real Madrid beat Man City and Albacete beat Real Madrid, then that means Albacete could be second in the Premier League. Since Arsenal drew with Leverkusen, it means Leverkusen would be sitting clear at the top of the Premier League, and Arsenal would struggle to even make the top 5 in the Bundesliga. Isn't it crazy? Premier League fan logic. And remember, these people are talking about, if Spurs beats Atletico, then La Liga's reputation is in tatters, like La Liga is cooked, can't take La Liga seriously. And well, that's not what happened, right? Atleti comfortably beat Spurs 4-0 up after just 22 minutes. There are three ties that have gone on between La Liga and the Premier League. Okay, Real Madrid, Man City, Atleti, Tottenham, and Barcelona, Newcastle United. Of these three, none have been won by Premier League team. Premier League teams have only managed to score 5 goals across the 3 matches. 5 goals across the 3, but they've conceded 11. They're being outscored 11-5. And guess what? There's still Camp Nou coming along. There's still a second leg as well. We all know Man City don't keep clean sheets. You know what I'm saying? Same for Tottenham. Tottenham are not going to keep a clean sheet. They're not going to beat Atleti 3-0. I mean, they could beat Atleti because Atleti sometimes is weird. But I don't think they're going to beat them by that much. They won't do a Barca to Atleti. Barca beat Atleti 3-0 after losing. Anyway, that's basically that. I don't really want to talk for a lot longer. Do let me know your thoughts though. What did you think? Barcelona's performance, general La Liga teams' performances, general Premier League teams' performances. What did you think about it? I mean, the Premier League faced all of the other major leagues. La Liga, Bundesliga, Liga 1, 0 wins. 0 wins. Premier League must be overrated